My name's Andrew. I'm the head cider maker here at Finnriver Cidery in Chimacum, Washington. And in the June club offering, we have put together what I think is a powerhouse of summer. Starting off with the Golden Russet. Golden Russet is a flagship of Finnriver's Orchard series made with these beautiful antique cider apples, high acid, nicely golden in color, beautifully sparkling. This is a cider meant to elevate. So you bring it with cheese and it elevates your cheese and the cheese will elevate the cider. This is a quintessential high acid sparkling cider made with highfalutin cider apples. The acid is wandering, the aromas are of tangerine and gentle citrus, and it is just an absolute delight from our orchard to you. Number two in the summer refreshment lineup of the June Club offering is one that hasn't been seen from Finnriver for some time. This is our Spanish-style Cidra, and this is a cider that has some kind of specifics of culture and fermentation methodology behind it. Spanish-style cider, coming from the north of Spain, is made with high-acid apples fermented in these wide, open-topped tanks that allow a lot of oxygen exposure. It builds the acetic acid. It makes for a tart cider that punches ever so slightly different from your standard high acid apples. You have a bit of vinegar twang to it coming through, and that lends itself to strong cheeses, wildly rich foods, and honestly, when it's really nice and cold, is just like the perfect summer quencher. Field of Hay. This is the second edition of hay bale cider that we're putting together here at Finnriver, and this year's Field of Hay is just remarkably different from last vintage. Not only that, we used a hay bale from a different farmed field here in the Chimacum Valley, and putting these things together, you have this beautiful bright cider underneath it. Ashmead's Kernel and Harrison blending together with a little Granny Smith and Pink Lady. Those apples are coming together to present a real nice, crisp, edgy backbone. And on top of that backbone, we soaked in about half a bale, maybe 3/4 of a bale of locally grown artisan hay. It puts this beautifully sweet, herbaceous, kind of spicy nose onto it. I mean, it smells like you just stepped into a crunchy meadow and you've broken grass and now you're sitting down, and it reminds me of a summer picnic. And that's really what we were hearkening to, a way to speak about the local farming and a way to really encapsulate that like warm summer, sunshine on green grass kind of aromas and flavor profile. Habanero cider has become something of a Finnriver classic. We've been putting batches together since 2012. Cider maker Chris Weir initiated that batch, and the lore is that it was made for the Strange Brew Festival as a spicy cider when that was novel and no one else had seen such a thing in the world, much less cider, but spicy cider, and that seems like eons ago. Today we have two farms that grow for us, namely Tonamaker Hill Farm, where the sun shines on the other side of the Cascades. They grow Scotch bonnet peppers for us specifically. And we take those peppers and we infuse them into a bright, sharp cider so that you have a balance of sweet and acid and spice all together. And what you get is an incredibly food-friendly bit of cider. It would probably not smell too deeply because it burns a bit in the nose. But in the mouth, you have a dance of heat at the back of your palate and warm acid kind of tingling your cheeks, and then a bit of sweetness to round it all out. And it is just such a pleasant beverage that we haven't stopped making it since 2012 as a one-off grown into a flagship habanero special. And now it changes into small-scale agricultural support as we have farmers growing specifically to support a product. And that network growth always feels good too. The lavender blackcurrant speaks to the bioregional agriculture of this region in a way that few of our other ciders do. The amount of lavender grown on the Olympic Peninsula makes it one of the primary sources of aromatic and culinary lavender on the planet, is my understanding. Growing in the rain shadow of the Olympic mountains, the microclimate just to the west of us in Sequim is absolutely perfect for lavender production. So lavender is the agriculture of this region. We source our organic culinary lavender buds from two sometimes 3 local farms who grow that lavender specifically for us. They have Finnriver fields, and we're buying something 120, 130 pounds of little tiny purple flower heads every year. And we take those flower heads and we're infusing it into the cider, and I feel like we're infusing a sense of place into this cider. The surfactants in beer that come from grain in a variety of forms, as well as some from hops, are the things that make beer hold bubbles and therefore hold a foamy little head. In champagne, we talk about it as a mousse, and in cider, we're somewhere lost in between, where you have some ciders, depending on what you put into them, will hold a nice frothy head for a bit of time, and others it disappears almost instantaneously. And so you can see the addition of lavender into this cider has added more than just the aroma of lavender. There are polysaccharide chains, small fats and oils that come from lavender are all now in the cider, and so it holds a bit more of that beautiful mousse on the top. That mousse is not something that is inherent to apples, and so for the most part we see quality mousse coming from ciders that have extra fruit, extra botanicals added to them. And so in this case, I really do like that kind of like subtle rosy pink of the foam that sits on top. It makes me happy on one level to see it, but also that little ring that's around the top there too, that is just going to hold itself. So once it calms down, it still has enough going on to hold that ring of mousse, that little crown across the top. Nothing says summertime in the Pacific Northwest like blueberries. We know blueberries are on their way. This is the promise of blueberries from Finnriver to you. You know, the original farm was based on blueberries as a primary commodity that was being grown out there. There are acres of blueberries 2 miles down the road from us, and they are glorious. Brandy wines are a unique way to bring special fruit to the forefront. It is a combination fermentation fortification. So we ferment a little low wine, and then we fortify with a bunch of apple brandy made by a distiller that custom distills for us. And so we send finished fermented cider off to Skip Rock Distilling, and we bring it back and we fortify this beautiful fruit-forward cordial of blueberries.